Okay, so next we have an experiment, okay? We've established that we have these inheritance factors, these sticks, and what makes a complete set. Now we have to figure out, well, how are these traits passed on? What are the rules so that we can figure out how to breed dragons for desirable traits that we want? If we're getting orders in that we want customers to, that want long-horned dragons, then we got to figure out how are we going to breed from our dragon stock here to ensure that we're getting a lot of longhorned dragons so that we can sell those and make money, right? Okay. And this is what animal breeders do. People that produce wine, they have to figure out the genetics of their wine crop, okay? So they can track that, so they can get the desirable colors and flavors. And so we got to figure this out. The idea right at the current time, okay, in our scenario here, is what's called blended inheritance, okay? Blended inheritance. So this is the main hypothesis, okay, as to how we get baby dragons from the mom and the dad. So with blended inheritance, if you were to breed a longhorn dragon with a shorthorn dragon, okay, for horns, then with blended inheritance, that the baby is going to be a blend of the two parents. So what would we predict the length, if blended inheritance is true, then what would we predict if we were to breed long and shorthorn dragons? What would the offspring be? Okay. Medium. All right, then they should be medium. Okay. Well, you're going to look through an experiment, and you're going to, that's given here for you, and you're going to decide whether that is supported or not. And then you're going to go through experiment 2's data. I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to go through this data here, and then we're going to discuss it. Okay. So give them 10 minutes to go through experiment 1 and experiment 2. Float around, okay? Float around. And then we're going to do the discussion of experiment 1 and experiment 2, which is where we're going to give them a lot of vocabulary in this discussion part here. All right. Let me get an eraser. So in experiment 1, you breed 2 dragons and find out that. So you can go through this on the board with them. Okay. All right, so experiment 1, what did you guys find out? So what did they do in experiment 1? Okay, they bred 2 dragons, okay, that have long and short horns. And what were the results? Okay, so the results of that experiment, oh, yay, thank you. Half of them, okay, so half ended up having long horns, and half ended up having short horns. Okay, so our prediction, if blended inheritance was true, is that we should get medium horned ones. So did we get any medium horns from this experiment? No. The prediction is not matching the actual results. So blended inheritance is not the correct, it's not supported, okay? So now we have to figure out an alternative hypothesis. And we can do that by looking at the results of experiment 2, okay? So experiment 2, okay? What happened in experiment 2? What did they do? Somebody give me a breakdown. What was the first thing that happened? Okay, so basically it's modeling Mendel's, parentals, F1, F2. So pull from them, get them to tell you what's going on. So what did he do? What was the first thing that happened? Okay, parentals. Okay, so we have parents, right? And these parents are pure. So what does that mean? Okay, ask them what it means to be a pure parent. So pure parents are. We know that those are dragons that have been bred for a long period of time and only produce that trait, right? And so this was done for many of the traits, so we'll just use back. The first one, smooth and black. So we have smooth and spiny. Okay, spiny backs. So the parents are pure smooth and pure spiny. Okay, so when those bred, what ended up being the kids? Okay, the kids of the parents we call the F1 generation. And what were the results? They ended up being what? All spiny back. Okay, so they were all spiny back. And then the spiny, what happened with the spiny back ones, the F1s? Oh, they were bred together. Yes, they were crossbred, and which gave us the F2, which ended up in having 73 spiny back and 73 spiny and 27 smooth. Okay. So wow, that's kind of interesting. So what can we learn from these experiments here about how dragons pass on their traits? Okay. And so they should, you know, if they're like just crickets, go, okay, well, so what disappeared? Smooth disappeared. Okay, so smooth disappeared in the F1, and then look, it reappeared in the F2. Okay, so and it reappeared in this smaller number. Well, if we break that down into a ratio, that's a 3-to-1 ratio, right? Okay, a 3-to-1 ratio. Do you see this pattern in any of the other data for the F2? And they should say, oh yeah, they all look like they're 3-to-1 ratios. And how does that, and look back at the F1 data, and do you see a pattern there? And hopefully they'll say, yeah, one trait always seemed to disappear. And then the trait that always disappeared reappeared in the F2, but in the smaller ratio. Okay? So from this, we can figure out that, that we have what? We have what's called dominance, or a dominant trait, and a recessive. Okay? So which one of smooth and spiny would we call the dominant? Okay? The one that didn't disappear. Very good. Okay? So the trait that doesn't disappear is the dominant trait, and the one that did disappear but reappears in the smaller ratio, in F2, we're going to call that the recessive. Okay? So I'm just going to backtrack for a second, because again, these are sexually reproducing organisms. Okay? This means that they are what we call diploid organisms. Okay? Diploid organisms. And so we are sexually reproducing organisms. We're diploid. And who knows, what is what's our number of chromosomes? Does anybody know? Oh, it's 46. Very good. Okay. So we are diploid organisms, which means 2N. Okay? 2N. And for humans, ours is 46, right? And if we take that, so our 2N number is 46. Okay? And if we do a little math here, and get the N by itself, that means N is what? 23. So the N number is what is in our sex cells, okay, that we talk about over here, our egg and our sperm. And when the egg and the sperm unite, so 23 and 23, when those unite, then that's our 2N, or our diploid number. Okay, so diploid organisms sexually reproducing organisms are diploid. So since our dragons are sexually reproducing, they are also diploid. And our sticks are representing what? Okay? They're representing the chromosomes. Okay, very good. So what is our 2N number for our dragons? Okay, so for the dragon, our 2N number is what? 6. Okay, so what's our N number? 3. So each time the dragons breed, they're only passing on one of each one of the sticks, so 3 sticks, okay, or 3 chromosomes. Okay, so we've got some terminology here, and now we understand that we have diploid organisms. Our dragons are diploid organisms, and that their chromosomes, okay, their chromosomes which are carrying their traits, they pass on half or one of each one of them. When we talk about half, it's not just any half. It's one of each one of the chromosome sets, one member. And that some of those traits are dominant over others that are recessive. Okay?